All right, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the fifth week in our series. We're very grateful to have you all here joining us today, and very happy to have Jonathan and Musa joining us from Green Corridors in Durban. So we're going to be hearing quite a bit about their waste materials collection and beneficiation program. That's all from me this morning, though. I'm going to hand over now to our speakers. Jonathan and Musa, you're welcome to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so just as you saw in the introductory slide there, I'm the technical expert for Green Corridors, and essentially my role with Green Corridors, which is an NGO based in Durban, is to advise on ways to beneficiate waste. So that'll be my role today. I'll let Musa introduce himself.
Sure. Good day, everyone. As Jonathan has mentioned, my name is Musa, and I'm the waste and basically coastal and waste management project officer for Green Corridors. I mainly work with informal communities, schools, and relevant and different stakeholders in the waste sector and other education or environmental education aspects. So that is my role basically around the Green Corridors.
And maybe I can just explain to sort of contextualize it, Musa. So essentially, you're probably picking up the picture that we as Green Corridors have a number of collection capacities or facilities. We work with informal communities. We've got a litter boom project that Musa will speak about later. So we are essentially in the space of collecting material in the environment, and then that material comes to the center here in KwaMashu, where we are now, and we develop ways to beneficiate it. So yeah, without further ado, I think we can go into the presentation, Musa. I'll share my screen with you now.
So thanks, Jonathan. Well, from my end, I think if I may start, I will start because my work is mainly in a sense that I'm more in the collections aspect, and Jonathan, then we connect whereby once we collected the material, then it should go for beneficiation. But also, as part of this presentation, we decided to share some bit of a background about Green Corridors and this program that we mainly are from, because Green Corridors have got different programs that we have, and we are basically from the Green Spaces program. Just to give you what Green Corridors is all about, Green Corridors is a social purpose and impact-focused organization that aims to see communities thrive in balance with the habitat around them. So that is what drives the programs and different projects that we are involved in the communities that we are involved in around the eThekwini area. Just maybe to mention, we are basically more of an implementing agent for the municipality, or more specifically, I think Jonathan is going to touch on that, the economic development unit that is working closely with Jonathan and also with other programs that I'm going to mention as we go ahead. So as I mentioned earlier, we basically come from a Green Spaces program, and our focuses are the riverine corridor management, which compromises of about 12 team members and 1 horticulturist. So these people are mainly dealing with alien invasive or invasive alien plant clearing along the river Rhine areas that are basically not managed. So we have in eThekwini about 16 different river catchments. So we'll be focusing mainly in one, or basically one here in KwaMashu, the one catchment called the Shange catchment. So those guys, that team is working there with as the teams have been specified on the slide. And then we also have the green and open spaces activation programs, whereby we have agroecology projects and gardens that are in operation, wilderness parks, just to mention a few, and park activation coordinators that are working in and around KwaMashu area. But I'm not well vested. I have a colleague who unfortunately is not with us. This is a broader aspects of other projects within the program. So where I'm mostly involved, where I will touch on a few, as I mentioned above, but my main role is environmental education and public awareness and waste management. So that's one we're going to look at in more detail. And also there's waste collections and beneficiation where Jonathan comes in. Just moving on, I'll just touch on a few partnerships that are currently active around the Wamashu area along the green and open spaces activation program. We have the wilderness parks, as I've mentioned earlier, where we have a very good and long-standing relationship with the UKZN. So these wilderness parks are basically wilderness areas that are created to accommodate or have activities with elderly people, young children from the primary schools. So for different activities, for example, the elderly people, you would have these occupational therapist students coming in to do their block weeks, or they do their practice by assisting these old ladies or men or gogos, with the different body movements and fitness. Those are some of the activities that they do, and also assist in the early childhood development, of these young and children from the previously disadvantaged schools in and around these wilderness parks. And also we have this kinship program that is also connected with the wilderness parks and training or connecting these young kids with nature. So they have different nature experience, activities that they do. And also we have a long-standing relationship with, as I mentioned earlier, Economic Development Unit. There's also a TRMP, that is Transformative Riverine Management Program, and PEP. So those are some of the departments and programs that we have a relationship with. As I also mentioned, agroecology units, because we have food gardens that we are developing. There are some of those municipal departments like environmental health, assisting us in environmental education in our schools and communities. We also, as Green Corridors, participated in the Amanzi Edge in Ubuntu program that was rolled out within KZN from Midlands all the way to the coast, where we employed some eco-champs and started doing some citizen science and water monitoring around KZN or Durban. If we can just move on. Okay, I am, as I said earlier on, I'm more on the environmental education side of things. So currently we are working with 6 schools around the 2 catchments, which is, Oshange and Umshangan. So these are basically around the Wamashu and Maut areas. So these schools, on average, a year we see over 1,000 to 300 learners, and this is just basically a stat from 2019 when we started the schools program, particularly under the sponsorship from corporate businesses. So what we do with the schools, we encourage recycling, we celebrate environmental calendar days, and we try to align our talks and education around school, to more of the themes of those particular days, but mainly around single-use plastic. So we have been working closely with the schools and asking for them to recycle. And it's been a very good response, except for the past couple of seasons now, where we are struggling because we see plastic being recycled all over, and the kids are now being mugged or robbed their plastic by the migrants on their way to school. So those are some of the challenges that we are coming across, but it's part of the learning and our learning as well as an organization. But in this, we're working closely with multiple partners, as I mentioned, environmental health, there's parks department from the municipality, and there's cleansing and solid waste, because they have educational programs, and we try to collaborate and share resources in this. But we also have a number of local NGOs and community-based organizations that have participated. And we have tried to bring in the community in this because we would have these community dialogues with the neighboring community within the schools. And we plan and devise plans for cleanups and education, basically. So those are some of the things that we do within the schools. And from the previous years, we have also tried to bring in the learners into KwaMashu Beneficiation Center so that they can learn as to what is being done by the material that they bring to school. So they come and see all the processes that are happening, the production of your pavers, the molded plastics, and so forth and so forth. So those are some of the things they've come to learn from visiting the center here in KwaMashu. Also, as part of the awareness program, we are also working with relatively, different informal settlements within eThekwini. Mainly from 2019, we've been working in one informal settlement that's it's called the Quarry Road West, and some of you might be aware of it after the floods that hit us last year. So where prior to the incident of the flooding, we had created or co-created a very effective internal waste collection system with the community, whereby we installed temporary storages for this waste that they are producing within the communities, and also employing four social facilitators to service these. And in working with the Cleansing and Solid Waste Department from eThekwini, we're able to coordinate the collection of this waste. And from there, I think it was quite an effective one because the municipality had indicated that they started to collect or handle over 14 tons of waste, whereas previously they were sitting at 12 tons per month. So now that means we have added over 2 tons of waste that is taken to landfill. However, our goal was not to take everything to the landfill. We encourage the community to separate the waste at source for them to participate in the circular economy or green economy by recycling the material or selling them to the recyclers. And also some material was taken for beneficiation as our social facilitators also collected material for green corridors. And we also have Umhlangane, where we did a much similar project. However, there was no collection together with the municipalities, but this was basically a separation at source and recycling of material and beneficiation. So these are some of the two communities in particular is working with, and one is more recently would be your Blackburn community further up north north of KZN, where we were trying to, or we basically did a study or an EPIS collection study to see what are some of the things that are triggering people to dispose waste, in a particular way, or how they treat used nappies. And also in that, parallel to that, what we did, we did waste characterization and quantification projects with the master's student from ETH Zurich, where we tried to see how much AHPs or nappies come out from the community, and also identifying the recyclable material and other material that can be used for beneficiation. And from there, we can identify the potential of extracting waste for these other two purposes, which is your beneficiation and recycling.
So before you go to the next slide, Musa, I'm quite happy to see this picture because I haven't seen the wheelie bin being used in the community.
Sure.
So that's the wheelie bin we call the 4x4, because what we did is we took the non-recyclable plastics and we actually melted it down in our extruder here, and we extruded it into, or flow molded it is the correct technical term, into a wheel. And though it's not shown in this picture, that wheel has been very robust and endured for 3 years now without problems?
Unfortunately, we lost them with the floods. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm sure they will still be around because there weren't any complaints or anything like that. But I definitely think they were quite effective. Yeah.
So just to explain a bit more, and I'm jumping in here, but that wheel that we've attached through that steel frame that you can vaguely see there behind that sort of half drop shadow, that is the size of a wheelbarrow wheel. So the idea is that it could both be used as a wheelbarrow wheel as well as a off-road 4x4 wheelie bin wheel. Yeah, and so that's a solid plastic wheel, obviously heavy, but equally very resilient.
Yeah.
So that was a test that we did that I'm glad to see worked, and I'm sorry that we lost it. So we'll have to make some more.
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan, for that. I was planning to mention those wheels. It's just that maybe it slipped my mind.
Okay.
And furthermore, another project that I am involved in, it would be your litter booms project, where we are currently working with Tri-Eco Envelo as part of enterprise development, whereby we try to appoint a local SMME or small business where they would be contracted to operate these litter booms on behalf of Green Corridors. So Tri-Eco Envelo has been operating these litter booms from probably when did I arrive here? Yeah, I think from 2021, as they've been operated as Tri-Eco Envelo. So over the past couple of years, basically from in 2022, we trapped over 2 tons of plastic. So that's included your PET, your HTP, and PP. PP would be, I'm sure you want to go in more detail on that one. And other material, then that includes cardboard, paper, and other plastics. And also, those are some of the other materials that are included there. So it really clearly indicates the impacts that these litter booms have. And on the picture it's on my left. I'm sure maybe on your side it's something similar or the opposite. There is the M4 bridge there. There's a highway in Durban called M4, and that is Shange estuary or lagoon. So that is our 2 litter booms there that are quite effective after the flooding. So this is what they trapped, the amount of waste that basically accumulated on that on those 2 litter booms. And the 160 kilogram, 160,000 came partly from those litter booms, including all that was washed down onto the beach. So it basically, that was a very huge cleanup that happened over toward the end of last year. So these litter booms, as I've mentioned, they cover quite a distance around the Tigwin, quite a number of stretch of rivers, but we are mainly working on 4 catchments, which is Shange, Lower Umgeni, Umhlatuzana, and Palmit. And just to correct what you're seeing, there's also Umhlangane I did not include, which is basically here in Wamash, because that is basically a relatively new project that is funded by PEDCO and the Coca-Cola Foundation. So we basically have installed about 3 litter booms in Wamash, and are quite effective as well. So the one that you see on your right would be, that one is from Avoca, which is basically a neighboring town from Wamash. So there's one of our litter booms from PEDCO as well. So these are some of the projects that we're involved in. And given the material that we found from the litter booms, the litter booms are non-selective, but however, they just trap any floating material. But mainly you would find your plastic, your polystyrene. So that is what we are trapping. Some of the material that we don't recycle is often redirected to the beneficiation center.
So just to clarify, so the principle is that all plastic that's recyclable obviously goes back into recycling, and it's only the non-recyclables that would come to our center. And I'll show you later on what we do with that.
Sure. I think I'll end there and leave Jonathan to it.
Okay, thanks. So this is where we take the non-recyclable material. I'll introduce the center, which could be called an innovation center. It's probably more accessible to people to see it as an innovation center. We innovate different ways to beneficiate the waste. So as Musa said, this project, as well as all of the other Green Corridors projects, are principally funded by eThekwini Economic Development Unit. And as one would imagine, given the funders' position and perspective, we're looking to develop economically viable and replicable business models, i.e. local beneficiation and utilization of materials that cannot be recycled through normal recycling streams. Of course, in that, jobs creation, skills transfer. So in the top right picture, which is hidden by this little tile, I guess, of participants, in my screen, I'm not sure if you're seeing exactly the same screen as we are seeing, but I'll just move it across in case you are. So that's the team. We've got 14 of us on site at the moment. That we weren't all present on that particular day. And then this is just giving you a sense of what the interior of one of the two factories, we call them, looks like. So in the background, you might notice that here we've got a couple of precious plastic shredders. So we've got 3 precious plastic shredders and 2 granulators, 1 step tooth, 1 flat blade granulator. I'm trying to find my cursor there. So that's in that department, which we call the pre-processing department. In the middle here, and it's kind of out of order a little bit, but this is a vibrating sieve that we use to separate the glass. So we, besides plastics and alien invasive plants, which I'll get to, we have a glass crushing and sieving process, and we use the different fractions of the glass for different applications. And in the foreground here, we've got our team leader, Mr. Ntlantla, Jobe, and Zakwe. We're 3 of a team of between 4 and 6 who manufacture green concrete products, which I'll get onto as well. And then on the left, just to maximize this picture, we've got here, which you can't see so well, the hammer mill. So we hammer mill polystyrene, and we incorporate that hammer milled beads of polystyrene into this green concrete mix. And so what they're making there has got polystyrene in it, which of course has good thermal properties, as thermal insulative properties, as well as it lightweights the concrete. I am now not able to progress for some reason.
It's working right.
Thanks, Tara. So we have here just a visual summary of the different materials we work with. So as I said, it's not just the plastics out of the rivers, which I guess is one of the areas that we've intersected with for Sustainable Seas Trust before, but also just to share with you, because I'm not sure how broad this audience is, that we also work with, let's go from the top, building rubble. So I think all over the country, we've got real problems with illegal dumping of building rubble, with landfill space reducing, and also the cost of landfill and the state of the economy. We've got a lot of illegal dumping, so that's obviously impacting on the environment, and something we're definitely trying to address and create a sustainable, economically viable alternative for. Street sweepings, that's an interesting one, where we've looked at obviously the street sweeping contractors currently in Durban anyway. Those bags of plastic bags of material, mainly sand, some stone, and little bits of paper, etc., are often dumped illegally as well. So our thinking is we've developed a system here where we've got a sieve, and we basically are in the process of getting the local contractors at least to bring their street sweepings to us. We sieve it and we extract certainly what's the most useful for us is the sand component, and we add that sand component to our green concrete mix. Glass, being so far away from the smelters, I guess PE is similar, has similar challenges. Being so far away, you've got, with the cost of diesel increasing almost on a monthly basis, the viability of transporting it to the smelters is ever diminishing. And so we're obviously conscious of the ideal that we develop ways to reprocess that glass at source. So we work with glass, and we've got a number of different technologies we work on there. Non-recyclable plastic, of course, we've talked about that. We all know what a big problem it is. So specifically, we're talking about multi-layer is one we're looking at, and I'll talk about some of the technologies that we've got a bit later. Textile and shoe waste is a fairly new space for us, but we are obviously very aware of the benefit that incorporating textile waste, textile, non-recyclable textile into our concrete mix is a tensile strength enhancer. And then last on the list, alien invasive plants. So that's the top left picture. We've got a massive problem with particularly Spanish reed, which is shown there. But I think alien invasive plants generally compromise biodiversity in ways we are all fairly familiar with. So let me move to the next slide. So the first thing we need to do, of course, is to take those materials, that waste, and pre-process it into something, into a form that's usable. And be that a thermal treatment, in other words, melting plastic, and there's two processes we use there, or a cold process, which is what we generalize as green concrete. Either way, they need to be pre-processed into a form where they can be beneficiated. So again, starting at the top, shoe rubber. So we're working on a very nice project with Nike at the moment where we're taking their post-industrial waste, but they're about to launch a take-back scheme, so post-consumer non-recyclable shoes, and that's extending past Nike to other brand owners as well, and some of your other retail stores. I won't mention any names. So we're taking back those shoes that can't be used, and we're chopping them up rather than sending them to landfill, and we're putting them into concrete, various concrete mixes. So some mixes are more well suited to smaller cast products. Some mixes have higher percentages of some of these materials that are more suited to ready mix cast concrete slabs. So I won't get too technical, but just to explain that there's different properties to different mixes, and they've each got sort of their ideal applications. Crushed glass bottles, as I mentioned in the previous slide, and the interesting thing there is it's including the label. So when you crush a glass bottle, your label's obviously left behind, and not all processes can include that label. So we're incorporating those labels into some of our green concrete applications. Post-industrial or recycling waste. So there's a lot of waste produced in industry. As we know, it's probably close on 90% of what goes to landfill, believe it or not. And then, so we're looking, it's the background I come from, is developing solutions for industry in terms of landfill diversion and zero waste to landfill. So, of course, even the recycling process where we are closing the loop, there is a waste stream coming from that recycling process. So we're trying to support various recyclers to, rather than have their non-recyclable materials going to landfill, rather to incorporate that into our green concrete pavers as well. So non-recyclable plastics are all categories 1 to 7. Big one we've got in KZN is the clamshell packaging, so PT, blister packaging, so toys, that clear formed plastic on the front of cardboard backed products that we shred to a small size. In fact, it's this, if I'm not mistaken, it's I think incorporated into this mix here. So just to talk you through them, this is the shoe waste. This is glass with all the labels. You can see the labels there. This is, I think this is a post-industrial waste stream. This is what we call paver plastic. So it's a mixture of all non-recyclable plastics, including clamshells, like I said. This is the fabric. So this is fabric waste. It's shredded. And this is expanded polystyrene. So we can take, obviously, any color, doesn't matter. So all the gray and the black polystyrene from meat trays, we can use that as well. So I've kind of gone to, sorry, let me see if I can go backwards. Yeah, I can. So that's expanded polystyrene, then illegally dumped building rubble. I've talked about that, in street swept sand. So those things all combined go into what we call a green concrete mix. And that's what we use to make our various products. So we are currently focusing on these products. And again, I'll move this across in case that helps you. So here you see, this is the story that we really wanting to pursue. It's all about education and awareness for us. So this is our green concrete pavers installed in a creche in Isitumba, Thousand Hills, for those of you that know eThekwini, Durban. The same pavers used in a Nagina community, demonstrations community, sort of an awareness campaign to initiate waste separation at source and recycling. So these are just our pavers being used in three-dimensional sort of installation type context. Down the bottom right here, this is the bottom part of our site. This is obviously a retaining wall made with retaining wall blocks that are made from green concrete. So all of those materials have gone into this block, and that wall withstood the floods, unlike many other walls in KZN. So we reckon it's proven itself as strong and durable and fit for purpose. Some of the other things that aren't depicted, curbstones. We're currently also making car stops. So they're half rounds that cars drive up against, and that's obviously the sign for them to stop. This is a quick video here that I want to show you. So this is another example of how our pavers are used in a school. So this is a school about 2 kilometers from where we are now. In fact, one of our staff members goes to children goes to school there. So it's a really nice closing the loop, so to speak. And yeah, this was funded by Nike again. So 20% of this paver is Nike shoe waste. So I'm just going to play this video. The volume's quite loud. I'm not sure. I might have to turn the volume down initially, and then it's just to show you the site and how it all is laid out and how it works. So let's try that. I'll speak in the video, so I'll let myself. These are the pavers from yesterday. Had a short day yesterday. These are the pavers from today. Also had a short day today because we're doing other stuff in the morning. But this is the production area. Well, sorry, this is the grinding and coating area, which we are busy setting up. We're busy building a wall here to create a space where we can put the finished goods, which are currently around the corner here. So this is the stock that we've made so far. I think we're sitting on about 300 pavers, but they're not all the quality that I'm looking for the school. So I'm still pushing the staff to improve the quality. And you see there's another whole bunch of pavers that were coated today. So yeah, we've got the production and process, and we are moving towards the place where we can install the pavers at Shayamoya. So that was, of course, a video specifically focused on the pavers, and you're not going to see much more of the site, but we've got other operations that we're running on site where we've got, as I said, the glass crushing. And then later on in this presentation, let's see if we can go to the next slide. There we go. So yeah, I'll take you through some of the organic waste applications later on. So this is bulk green concrete applications. So we have limited production capacity in terms of casting of products at our site. Bearing in mind it is an innovation center, it's an R&D facility, it's not a manufacturing facility. However, having said that, in showing these products to various prospective customers, they're now indicating they are looking for volume and higher production capacity. So we're looking at setting up other manufacturing facilities, which is where the whole concept of economic development unit kicks in, and therein is our KPA delivery of creating SMMEs, which beneficiates waste. So we've got a few applications for bulk concrete. This top left is a screed that we installed recently at Mhlanga Ridge Office Park, just between Gateway and Nedbank head office, for those of you that know Mhlanga. So a very nice exposure of this technology to the public. As you see, a very nice, brightly colored, speckled terrazzo type style of polished concrete. To the right is Premod, is the name of the system. Essentially has the capacity to absorb large volumes of polystyrene. So essentially it's a fiber cement board skin, which gets poured with a lightweight slurry of high percentage of polystyrene, so good offtake for polystyrene. And then the bottom right is the casting of a slab. So there we've got, we can have, depending on the engineer's requirements, we can have up to a structural concrete, anything between a 20 and a 35 approximately MPa concrete. So very interesting that we can use that both as a slab as well as structural concrete, in other words, columns and beams, etc., of a building. So that we're very proud of as being one of our greatest successes here so far. So this is now moving on to the organic waste. So leaving behind now the plastics and the building rubble and street swept sand, etc., etc. We have alien invasives are a big problem to us. So we have the capacity to take our chipper to the site where particularly the Spanish reeds are a problem, and we chip it at source and then bring that chip material back to site where we mix it with, you see on the right there, that picture is Seymour mixing spent grain, which is a byproduct of the beer production process from breweries, and Spanish reed, and then waste plant materials. So we're actually located on one of the Parks Department sites in eThekwini, District 3. And so the logic of that was that we'd take their parks clippings and cuttings, and rather than driving to landfill and dumping organic waste in a landfill, we would rather beneficiate it into a compost that they could then reuse in their gardens. And I'm sort of jumping ahead here to the bottom point, but so we donate some of the what we make back to Parks Department, some we donate to community gardens, and the idea is we will sell some. So we haven't got to the point where we're selling it yet because we're still optimizing the design, the mix. But let me get back to the beginning of the points. So this is a very interesting process in that because it's fermented, it's not an aerobic composting process. So there's vastly reduced CO2 emissions. So there's all sorts of carbon offset opportunities in this technology if it's done on bulk. The effective microorganism that we use to ferment this organic material restores the natural balance of microbes in the soils. By using alien invasive plant in this compost, we're obviously helping deal with the biodiversity challenges through alien invasive plants. Of course, and we're just about to start a project with the CSIR here in KwaMashu in the next few weeks, where we're setting up a bokashi production facility to make bokashi compost from various organic waste materials. And that's, we'll probably be we'll probably incorporate another project that we're doing, which is through Southern Sons, to take their food waste and incorporate that into this Kwamashi project. But we've also got another project in Blackburn Village, which we're setting up with Southern Sons and Umhlanga Ridge. So some nice projects starting to unfold with various role players. This is Blessed Okole, Dr. Blessed Okole from CSIR. This was the phase 1 of the project we did with them. Here's an example. Sorry, this is taking us back a little bit, but this is an example of a collections infrastructure that we're setting up at Connaught Bridge with informal collectors. It speaks to the integration of informal collections and informal waste management systems into the formal waste management systems. So here the green block is the potential Bokashi production. You've got glass crushing, plastics collection, sorting, separating, accumulation, baling, and then this is a central sorting area. Tara, I'm speaking overtime, aren't I?
Just a little bit, but I believe this is your last slide. Correct?
It is too.
Okay.
Yes. So gasification, we're also exploring how to take bio residue, so organic waste, particularly alien invasive plants, the more woody types, and convert it into electricity. So this is some work we're doing with UKZN. Yeah, all done.
Thanks so much. Sorry to speed things up towards the end there, but it's wonderful to hear all the different projects that you're involved in, and it's quite a diverse number of interventions that you're operating. So very understandable that we run slightly long. I see it is nearly 12 o'clock, but if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to send them through in the chat box now or in the Q&A box. You're also welcome to send them through to us via email, and we can share them with the speakers today if you do need to step off the call. But for those of us who don't need to dash off anywhere, I was wondering, do you have any sort of monitoring projects that have been operating amongst all the work that you've been doing? So from the sort of litter booms to the community work, things like that, any sort of monitoring that you've been doing in terms of the volume of waste that's being produced and diverted and things like that?
Mrs., do you want to speak to that?
Had quite a few projects, but mainly what we do is we do have, I'll just give you maybe a few examples on how we monitor the amounts or volumes of waste. We do have an app that the team is currently using to upload the data as and when they collect on site. We also have had some students coming from ETH Zurich to monitor using this laser device in identifying the type of plastics and also identifying the brands that are mainly trapped in the litter booms. So that is another project, semester projects, so to say, for the ETH Zurich students. And also another one was from UKZN master student as well. So he also quantified, classified different types of plastics and other waste that is normally trapped. But our main monitoring system would be weighing on site and uploading onto the app, and then taking it to, just now, or maybe last year, we purchased a mobile baler or trailerized baler, of which the guys can bale on site and properly, they can catch good volumes, and it's easier to transport and take it to the buyback centers, where they also get some sort of record to monitor exactly the amount of waste that is being redirected to recycling and also beneficiation.
Yeah, so brief response from my side. So yes, we record how many pavers we make. So pavers is the main product we're sort of optimizing at the moment. I forgot to mention that the paver is a 100% waste, except for the cement binder. So, and each paver weighs 20 kilograms. And given in the context that we're an innovation center, not a manufacturing facility, so we've made probably about 3,000 pavers to date. So 80% of that is waste. And each paver weighs 20 kilograms. So we can do the maths on that in terms of material diverted from landfill. But the real opportunity lies now in upscaling and setting up manufacturing facilities. So there's big capacity now to divert significant tonnage of material from landfill.
Thank you for both of you for the for insights there. It's very interesting to hear about the data capturing that's going on, and obviously for the pavers, it makes sense that the volumes are being tracked there. Sorry, the question was referring more to the litter that's being collected, which Musa did answer. In terms, and you did actually preempt my next question about the beneficiation centers and the volumes that they're producing there. Do you have a sort of rough estimate of the amount of or the weight that's been diverted from landfill over the course of your operation?
Yeah, so as I said, so we've done other products as well, but basically if there's 3,000 pavers and each paver is 20 kilograms, that's 60,000 kilograms or 60 tons, and 80% of 60 tons is the waste. So yeah, you're talking about 54 tons, if I'm not mistaken, of waste so far. But really, as I said, this is an innovation center. We are not here to divert waste. We're here to develop ways to divert waste. So the real benefit is yet to come.
No, certainly, and it's definitely more of a long-term investment than sort of a standalone cleanup, for example. So it's incredible work that you are both doing from different aspects, and obviously setting up the SMMEs has long-term implications, even just in terms of shifting attitudes about waste and the opportunities that are available. So one last question from our side. If anyone does have any further questions, please again feel free to send through in the Q&A box or the chat, or email us at a later stage if you do have questions after the session. I was curious, is there any sort of end-of-life opportunities for the pavers once they are perhaps sort of damaged or broken or sort of being removed from their current use?
Absolutely. I mean, it's critical we have cradle to cradle right these days. So yeah, they can very easily be recrushed and reprocessed back into more pavers. There is no sort of, it's not the same as plastics where you get it degrading each time you recycle it. And even then, of course, you can add modifiers and plasticizers to re-plasticize it. So yeah, the green concrete is very much recyclable. So no problem there.
Okay, wonderful. I see it is a little bit of a loaded question, but I'm very grateful to hear that there's a cradle-to-cradle system happening. We do have a question that's come through in the Q&A box that says, thank you for sharing all the interesting information. Could you elaborate a little on how Green Corridors started, or what were the first steps which helped the organization come alive? And were there any specific enablers that kickstarted Green Corridors?
Yeah, so I'll give a bash at that. I'm fairly new, and it's not been my focus. I'm not sort of in the institutional space, but as far as I'm aware, it grew out of a project with, was it the Doozy Conservancy? Was it something to do with the Doozy Trust? And so there was a combination of involvements between the Doozy Conservancy and eThekwini municipality. They got together. There was a chap by the name of Bart Fokkens, I think, or something like that. I'm not sure if I got the name. Doozy Umgeni Conservancy Trust, yeah. And so they got together and decided, between them, specifically eThekwini Economic Development Unit, decided they needed to create what they call a special purpose vehicle. And so essentially how it works is the municipality can now, through Green Corridors, which is a not-for-profit, channel funds to address their programs and to achieve the objectives of the circular economy and green economy. So it was, I think what's the short answer and the pertinent response is that there was a will and an interest on the municipal part to establish Green Corridors. It was actually set up very much in collaboration with the municipality, with a special intent in mind that this organization fulfill their requirements and their vision.
Thanks, Jonathan. The eThekwini municipality seems to do great work there from their sort of separation at source schemes and things like that. So it's interesting to hear about the connection there. There have been one or two additional comments coming through saying, always interesting hearing about the Green Corridor's work and great presentation and excellent initiative to deal with plastic waste. So thank you all for sending through those comments and the question. I wonder, just in closing, I don't see any additional queries or questions that have come through at this stage. You are obviously doing incredible work and incredible strides to reduce plastic waste and to generate long-lasting opportunities through waste. But I was wondering if you could each maybe sort of share some of perhaps maybe just one challenge that you faced sort of in dealing with this. I know, Musa, I know you spoke about your work in schools and the sort of crime element that children face with their plastic and sort of bringing recyclables to school and things like that. But any sort of challenges that you're currently working to address in each of the, I don't know if you each want to share one, maybe from the different sectors that you're involved with.
No, I think the most common one, as I said, I work with communities. I mean, I touched on the schools. I don't think there's much there to focus on, but on the communities aspect, you would find that, with the new political, structures being formed and new municipal boundaries or what boundaries, you would find that the community is now divided into two. So the part of the leadership or the community leadership that you're working with is now divided. So it makes it difficult for you to, continue implementing some of the projects that you are working with. And even if you are bringing in something new, it's always, well, no, we don't know, you reported to that. So it's always some of those political spheres, but nothing from the municipal side. It's just the people on the ground that are, would give you such challenges. But other than that, without the obvious one of funding, I think, we would see quite a lot of progress if that was not a hindering, issue. But some of those issues that I've just mentioned,
From my side, and this is maybe a word of caution / advice. So because, as I said, the Green Corridors was set up through the eThekwini municipality and is funded principally through them. It's not to say that all of our funding comes from them now, as you can see from the branding on my shirt. The fact of the matter is that we have this relationship with the municipality, which is really, we like to believe, beneficial to the municipality, and that we're developing these solutions for them as a whole. But the downside of that is that there's this relationship with the municipality, and that the councillors feel very entitled, if you like, to have input and involvement and prescribe the employees that we can take on in our projects. So the appointment of staff within Green Corridors is limited to who the councillors recommend. And quite often that's not giving us the best person for the job, let's just say. So, and then there are the standard sort of challenges of productivity. And we, as I said, we're not a production facility, but we do want to understand the viability of the process and the product. And so we need to get to certain efficiencies and productivities to confirm what's possible and the profitability of it. So that to me is where I've spent a lot of time, is trying to get to a place of clarity and understanding of just how efficient can the process be, and hence how profitable it is, and how good an idea it is to try and replicate it. So that would be my greatest challenge, I think.
Okay. Very interesting to hear, just in that you obviously seem to have surmounted a number of challenges with the sort of with various initiatives, from the sort of wheelie bin 4x4s to the pavers, which use all the kinds of plastics and things like that typically aren't recyclable. So it's interesting to hear the sort of next steps to refine the processes. So I think we can close off here for today. Again, for those watching, even perhaps watching the recording, if you do have any further questions, please feel free to email us at webinars@sscafrica.org.za, and we'll pass those along to our speakers. We do have a next webinar happening next week, Wednesday, same time. The link is available on our website. You can find it there. We'll be hearing from from a Norwegian speaker next week on education for sustainable development and addressing how plastic litter pollutes nature. So we're very excited to hear about that. For now, just in closing, thank you everyone so much for joining us for week 5. And thank you in particular to our speakers, to Musa, to Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all the incredible work that Green Corridors is doing. And from the sort of community programs to the beneficiation schemes, it's great to hear the strides and the developments that are happening there. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope there isn't a delay or anything in the signal, but thank you so much, and we hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Very welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.